The Algebra of Wealth by Scott Galloway. Introduction. What if I told you that wealth isn't just about how much you earn, but how well you play the game of life? Sounds dramatic, maybe even a little uncomfortable, right? But that's the hard truth. You could be clocking in 50, 60 hours a week, checking all the boxes, go to college, get a job, save a bit, maybe even invest a little on the side, and still wake up one day realizing that you're not free. Not financially, not emotionally, not in the way you thought success would feel. That's because wealth, real wealth, isn't just about money. It's about freedom. It's about having control over your time, your choices, and your future. And that's exactly where Scott Galloway's The Algebra of Wealth hits you like a freight train. It doesn't sugarcoat. It doesn't preach. It punches through the noise and lays out a brutal yet empowering formula for what it really takes to become wealthy in the 21st century. Galloway, a professor at NYU Stern, a serial entrepreneur, and someone who built his own multi-million-dollar fortune from the ground up, doesn't just talk theory. He's lived it. And now, he's breaking it all down into a formula that anyone can apply. That formula? It's not complex calculus. It's made of 4 surprisingly human variables: focus, stoicism, time, and diversification. Forget chasing overnight success. Forget crypto hype or get-rich-quick dreams. These 4 elements are the foundation of building real, lasting wealth. They are the roots that grow into freedom, independence, and, yes, even fulfillment. Let me give it to you straight. This video isn't about tips and tricks. It's about transformation. By the end of it, you won't just understand how wealthy people think. You'll know how to think like them, how to move like them, and how to build a future that puts you in control. Because the truth is, you're not rich yet. But if you're willing to learn, to reflect, and most importantly, to act, then yet becomes the most powerful word in your vocabulary. So, if you've ever wondered why some people seem to pull ahead while others stay stuck, if you're tired of working hard with little to show for it, if deep down you know you're meant for more, this is your wake-up call. Welcome to the Algebra of Wealth. Welcome to the beginning of your next chapter. Let's rewrite your financial story. Starting now. Section 1. Focus. The power of saying no. If there is one superpower that separates the wealthy from the average, it's not brilliance, not charisma, and definitely not luck. It's focus. In a world built to distract you, the ability to concentrate on what truly matters is one of the rarest and most valuable skills you can develop. Scott Galloway doesn't mince words. If you want to be wealthy, you must learn to focus relentlessly. Wealth, he argues, is not the result of dabbling in many things. It is the compounded outcome of doing a few things extraordinarily well over time. But let's face it, focus is hard. Everywhere you look, there's something fighting for your attention. Notifications, emails, breaking news, viral trends, friends sending you the latest must-see TikTok. Even the idea of productivity can become a trap, where you're so busy being busy that you never actually move forward. We live in an attention economy, and if you're not fiercely protecting your own, someone else is profiting from it. That's why Galloway makes this radical but necessary claim: if you can't focus, you can't win. That's the blunt truth. The wealthy, those who achieve financial freedom, not just high income, aren't always the smartest or most talented, but they are the most focused. They pick a lane. They go deep. They stay consistent. While the rest of us are chasing every shiny object, they're quietly mastering their craft, building equity, and compounding their advantage. One of the best examples of this principle in action is Warren Buffett, one of the richest men on earth. When asked about the secret to his success, Buffett didn't credit his IQ or his market timing. Instead, he pointed to a deceptively simple strategy, now famously known as the 5-25 rule. Here's how it works. Write down the 25 things you want to do with your life. Then circle the top 5. Those are your goals. The other 20? Buffett says those go on your avoid at all costs list. Not because they're bad goals, but because they're distractions from the few things that really matter. Read that again. The key to Buffett's success isn't what he does, it's what he refuses to do. That's the power of saying no, and that's the essence of focus. Focus isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter by protecting your time, energy, and attention like they're the most precious assets you own, because they are. Galloway pushes this even further. He says that most people spend their lives chasing incremental progress in too many directions, diluting their impact. They take on too many commitments, say yes to every social invitation, jump on every new trend, and wonder why they're still stuck. The successful, on the other hand, are ruthless about clarity. They make hard choices. They don't just prioritize, they obsess over their priorities. They're not afraid to be misunderstood, to be different, or to say no, even to opportunities that look good on paper. So what does this look like in practice? It starts with awareness. Start tracking how you spend your time for just 1 week. You'll be shocked. The average person touches their phone over 2,600 times a day. That's not focus. That's fragmentation. The first step to mastering focus is cutting the noise. Delete the apps that don't serve you. Mute notifications. Schedule blocks of uninterrupted time. Use tools like the Pomodoro technique or time blocking. But more importantly, learn to say no without guilt. Saying no is a skill. And like any skill, it gets stronger with practice. Start small. Say no to meetings without agendas. Say no to weekend plans if they pull you away from your long-term goals. Say no to binge-watching another show when you could spend that hour investing in your future. Every no you give to the non-essential is a yes to the exceptional. And remember, focus doesn't just apply to how you spend your time, it also applies to your energy. Who are you spending it on? Are you surrounded by people who lift you up, or those who pull you in 10 different directions? Galloway emphasizes that the people in your life either feed your focus or drain it. Choose wisely. Guard your inner circle as carefully as you guard your calendar. Now, here's a truth bomb. Focus isn't sexy. It's not glamorous. It doesn't go viral on social media. But it works. Focus is slow, steady, and powerful. It's showing up every day, even when it's boring, especially when it's boring. It's putting in the reps, building the habit, sharpening the axe. And eventually, focus pays off in the most incredible way, through mastery, reputation, leverage, and yes, wealth. Think about the people you admire: entrepreneurs, creators, athletes, innovators. What do they all have in common? Laser-like focus. They're not doing everything. They're doing the right things, and they're doing them consistently. That's the formula. And here's where this gets personal. Ask yourself, what's your top 5? What are the goals, projects, or relationships that matter most to your long-term wealth and well-being? More importantly, what are the distractions that are pretending to be important? What do you need to stop doing this week, this month, this year to make space for what truly matters? Here's your challenge. What's one thing you need to stop doing this week to double down on your most important goal? Not 10 things, not tomorrow. One thing. One distraction you'll eliminate. One commitment you'll decline. One boundary you'll reinforce. Do that, and you'll feel the difference immediately. Because at the end of the day, Focus is freedom. It's the discipline to ignore the noise so you can amplify your signal. It's the courage to say no to the world so you can say yes to yourself. And when you master that, you don't just move faster, you move further. That's the power of focus. And that's the first variable in your equation for wealth. Let's keep going. Section 2. Stoicism. Mastering your emotions. If focus is the engine that drives you toward wealth, then emotional discipline, stoicism, is the stabilizer that keeps you on the road when life tries to knock you off course. According to Scott Galloway, wealth is not just a function of what you know or how hard you work. It's also about how well you manage your emotions in moments of pressure, uncertainty, and chaos. Emotional discipline isn't flashy. It doesn't show up on Instagram. But it's one of the most powerful differentiators between those who build lasting success and those who sabotage their potential. Let's be real. Life is unpredictable. The markets crash, startups fail, promotions don't come. People you trusted let you down. Even when things are going well, fear and self-doubt can creep in and derail your progress. The people who win in the long run aren't the ones who avoid these setbacks. They're the ones who stay grounded when they happen. That's where stoicism comes in. Stoicism isn't about being cold or detached. It's about being unshakable. It's the practice of building a calm mind in the face of turbulence, a strong will in the face of adversity. Galloway puts it simply: the people who build wealth are the ones who don't let their emotions make their decisions. When the market tanks, they don't panic sell. When their startup hits a wall, they don't fold, they adapt. When critics show up, they don't retreat, they refine. That's the Stoic mindset. And here's the truth. We are emotional creatures. Fear, ego, pride, and insecurity are natural. But if you want to play the long game, the game of wealth, you can't let those emotions drive the car. You have to learn to acknowledge them without being owned by them. Emotional mastery is the difference between making a rash decision that costs you years of progress and staying cool under pressure so you can pivot, recover, and grow stronger. Scott Galloway knows this firsthand. Before he was a best-selling author, professor, and multimillionaire, he was an entrepreneur who took big risks and sometimes got burned. One of his first major ventures was a company called Red Envelope, an e-commerce site focused on premium gifting. It had momentum, investors, and vision. But when the dot-com bubble burst, everything changed. The company struggled, and Galloway was eventually forced out by the board. It was a brutal, public failure. But instead of spiraling, Galloway chose stoicism. He journaled, he reflected. He didn't see the collapse of Red Envelope as a death sentence. It was a detour. He used it to learn, to recalibrate, and to launch his next business, L2, which eventually sold for millions. That's the kind of bounce back most people only dream of. And it wasn't built on luck. It was built on emotional resilience. You don't have to be a founder or CEO to apply this. Life throws curveballs at all of us. Maybe you lost a job. Maybe your savings took a hit. Maybe you feel like you're way behind where you thought you'd be by now. The question isn't whether you'll face hardship. The question is how you'll respond to it. Will you panic and retreat? Or will you breathe, reflect, and move forward with clarity? That's the first practical tool for mastering your emotions: journaling. Sounds simple, but it's powerful. Every morning or evening, write down what you're feeling. Don't censor yourself. Get the chaos out of your head and onto paper. Once your emotions are visible, they're manageable. You can look at them, question them, and stop them from running your life. Journaling creates space between stimulus and response. It gives you perspective, and perspective is power. The second tool is meditation. Again, nothing fancy. Just sit in stillness for 10 minutes a day. Focus on your breath. Watch your thoughts like clouds passing through the sky. Don't engage, just observe. What you'll discover is that most of your anxiety isn't real. It's a movie playing in your head. Meditation teaches you to detach from the noise. It helps you respond instead of react. And over time, that calm presence becomes your default, not your exception. Finally, there's a mindset shift that ties it all together. Reframe failure as feedback. This one's critical. Most people see failure as a dead end, but wealthy people, stoics, see failure as data. Every time you stumble, you gain intel. Every misstep sharpens your approach. Think about a baby learning to walk. They fall constantly, but no one tells them to give up. Why? Because every fall is part of the process. Why do we forget that as adults? When Galloway got pushed out of his own company, he didn't take it personally. He took it professionally. He asked, "What did I miss? What can I do better next time?" That mindset transformed his setback into a setup for his next success. And you can do the same. Whether it's a job loss, a failed relationship, or a side hustle that never took off, ask yourself, what's the lesson here? How is this making me stronger? This isn't just about business, it's about life. Emotional mastery spills into everything: your career, your health, your relationships. When you learn to regulate your emotions, you show up more powerfully in every area. You stop chasing validation. You stop fearing judgment. You stop comparing your Chapter 1 to someone else's Chapter 10. You learn to trust the process, even when the results aren't instant. And here's the kicker: emotional mastery is rare. Most people don't have it, which means if you do, you have an edge. You make better decisions. You build stronger relationships. You create stability in a world that constantly shifts. That's what the wealthy do. Not just with money, but with mindset. So here's your challenge. How can you turn your biggest current stress into a learning experience? Seriously, take a moment, right now. Think about the thing that's weighing you down. Maybe it's financial uncertainty. Maybe it's burnout. Maybe it's fear of failure. Whatever it is, write it down. Then ask yourself, what is this teaching me? What strength is this building? How will I use this to grow? Because when you flip the script on stress, you take back your power. And when you master your emotions, you unlock one of the greatest secrets to wealth. Not just in dollars, but in peace, confidence, and control. Stoicism isn't ancient philosophy for old men in robes. It's a modern superpower. And it's yours if you're willing to practice it. So breathe, reflect, reframe, and keep moving forward. The journey continues. Section 3. Time. The ultimate compounding asset. If you want to understand wealth, not just the illusion of it, but the real, enduring kind, you have to understand this one truth. Time is more valuable than money. And not in a poetic, motivational quote kind of way. Literally. Tangibly. Mathematically. Time is the single most powerful variable in the algebra of wealth. Scott Galloway doesn't just suggest it, he stresses it. Because no matter how much money you have, if you don't understand how time multiplies value, you're playing the wrong game. Let's get brutally honest for a second. Most people waste time like it's infinite and hoard money like it's scarce. But wealth doesn't come from how much you make. It comes from how long you let it grow. That's why time isn't just a passive factor. It's an active force. And if you start early, stay consistent, and trust the compounding process, time becomes your most loyal wealth-building partner. Miss that window, and you'll be working harder for less return, always trying to catch up. Here's the core of Galloway's message. The earlier you start, the easier it gets. And the opposite is true too. The later you start, the more uphill the battle becomes. That's why thinking long-term is a superpower. Because when you zoom out, the chaos of today fades, and the patterns of tomorrow come into view. You start to realize that wealth isn't about making quick flips. It's about planting seeds, watering them steadily, and letting time do the heavy lifting. Let's bring this to life with a real-world example that every personal finance mentor loves because it illustrates the power of time so clearly. Imagine two brothers, Alex and Ben. Alex starts investing at 20. He puts away $5,000 a year for 10 years and then stops completely at age 30. In total, he's invested $50,000. Ben, on the other hand waits until he's 30 to start. He invests the same $5,000 a year, but he keeps going until he's 60. A full 30 years. He invests a total of $150,000. You'd think Ben would end up with more, right? Wrong. By age 60, Alex, the one who invested early and then stopped, actually ends up with more money than Ben. Why? Because those 10 early years gave his money a head start, and compound interest snowballed his gains. Time did the work. That's not magic, it's math, and it's one of the biggest financial secrets hiding in plain sight. Galloway is crystal clear on this. Start now and think long-term. Not next year. Not when you feel ready. Now, because every day you delay is a day you lose. But the good news is, you don't need to be rich to start. You just need to be consistent. One of the smartest moves you can make today is opening a Roth IRA, if you're eligible, or setting up automatic contributions to an index fund. You don't need to pick stocks or time the market. Just get in the game, put money in regularly, and let compound interest take it from there. And here's the real shift. Start thinking in decades, not days. Our culture pushes instant gratification, fast money, overnight success, but wealth doesn't work that way. Wealth is slow. It's boring. It's the result of doing the right things quietly and consistently over time. The people who get rich and stay rich, they don't check their investment accounts every hour. They don't panic when the market dips. They play the long game. Because they understand that time isn't just ticking, it's compounding. But here's the paradox. When you're young, time feels endless. So we waste it. We say, I'll start saving next year. I'll learn about investing later. I've got time. And then 10 years pass. You're making more, but life is more expensive. You have rent, maybe kids, maybe debt. And suddenly, the simple habit you could have started at 20 feels impossible at 30. The antidote? Start small, but start now. Put aside $50 a week. Automate it. Don't touch it. Over the years, those small contributions add up because compound interest doesn't care how much you start with, only how long you give it. That's the beauty of time. It forgives small beginnings. It rewards patience. And it punishes procrastination. Another layer Galloway emphasizes is how time creates freedom. Wealth isn't just about buying things, it's about buying back your time. When you let your money grow passively, your future self gets to make choices your present self can only dream of. You can retire early, take sabbaticals, fund your kids' education, start a business, or just have the peace of mind that you don't need to work for every dollar you spend. That kind of freedom doesn't come from hustle, it comes from habits. And habits take time. This is why Galloway's view of time isn't just financial, it's philosophical. When you respect time, you start living differently. You stop trading hours for pennies, you stop chasing shortcuts, you start prioritizing what really matters. Because you understand that time, once lost, can never be replaced. But when it's invested wisely, It can pay you back for a lifetime. So here's your challenge. What's one financial habit you can start today that your future self will thank you for? It could be setting up that Roth IRA. It could be cutting one useless subscription and redirecting that money into an index fund. It could be reading a book on investing. It doesn't have to be huge. It just has to start. Because the truth is, the most powerful financial decision you'll ever make isn't about where you invest. It's about when you start. And the best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is right now. Time is your most loyal business partner. It never sleeps. It never asks for a raise. It just needs consistency and patience. And in return, it will deliver the kind of wealth that doesn't just change your life, but gives you back control of it. So stop waiting. Start planting. And let time do what it does best. Grow. Section 4. Ownership. Don't just work for money. Own something. If you're trading hours for dollars, you're playing a game with a hard ceiling. There's only so much time in the day, only so many hours you can work, and only so far a salary will take you. It doesn't matter how big your paycheck is. If you're not building equity, you're not building real wealth. That's the brutal truth Scott Galloway lays out in the Algebra of Wealth. And it's one of the most important mindset shifts anyone on the path to financial freedom must make. Stop only working for money. Start owning things. Ownership is the great wealth multiplier. It's the difference between being a cog in the machine and being the one who owns the machine. When you own something, whether it's a business, a stake in a company, intellectual property, or even your own audience, you create an asset that works for you 24/7. It earns while you sleep. It grows while you eat dinner. It scales beyond your time and effort. And that's when the game of wealth begins to favor you. Scott Galloway didn't become wealthy because he negotiated great salaries. He became wealthy because he built and owned something valuable. After a series of wins and losses in the business world, he founded L2, a digital intelligence firm that helped brands understand how they were performing online. He didn't just consult. He built a scalable platform. And he didn't just work there. He owned it. Years later, he sold L2 for around $50 million. That exit didn't happen because he worked longer hours than everyone else. It happened because he built equity. And here's the catch. Galloway didn't start as some privileged insider. He was raised by a single immigrant mother who worked as a secretary. He went to UCLA on the back of public education, started his career with student loan debt, and learned the rules of the game through experience, not inheritance. His path to wealth wasn't handed to him. He took it, he built it, and he owned it. So how do you apply this idea if you're not a founder or tech wizard? You start by shifting your thinking. Instead of only looking for higher salaries, look for ownership opportunities. If you're in a traditional job, ask if your company offers equity through stock options, RSUs, or an employee stock ownership plan, ESOP. These programs let you share in the upside of the company's growth. If you're at a startup, push for equity compensation as part of your package. You're not just an employee, you're a builder. You deserve a piece of what you're helping create. But don't stop there. In today's digital world, you can build assets from scratch: a YouTube channel, a newsletter, an app, a course, a niche product. Your intellectual property, your ideas, your voice, your perspective, can be monetized at scale. And the tools have never been more accessible. You can reach millions of people from a laptop. You can build a brand on Instagram, a podcast on Spotify, or a store on Shopify. The barrier to entry is no longer permission, it's commitment. The question is, are you willing to plant the seed and nurture it? Ownership takes time. You won't see results overnight. But remember the lesson from the last section. Time is your friend if you start now. A side hustle that earns nothing for a year can explode in year 3. A personal brand that feels invisible today can become an asset tomorrow. It's not about instant payoff, it's about long-term leverage. And there's more to ownership than just money. Ownership gives you freedom. When you own your time, your work, and your value, you stop asking for permission. You stop relying on someone else's approval or company policy. You build your own platform. You shape your own destiny. That's the true payoff, because the most valuable asset you'll ever own is control over your own life. Let's take a minute to clarify. There's nothing wrong with working a 9 to 5. Not everyone needs to quit their job and launch a startup. But if you're not also building something on the side, some form of equity, some ownership of your own value, you're leaving your financial future entirely in someone else's hands. And those hands? They often prioritize their own goals over yours. That brings us to your challenge. Are you spending your time building someone else's dream or your own? Think about it. Every hour you put into your job is building value. But where does that value go? To your employer's bottom line, to their shareholders. That's not evil. It's just how the system works. But the wealthiest people figure out how to channel some of that value toward their own assets. So, how do you start? First, audit your skills. What do you know that others might value? Can you teach it, build something with it, or package it into a product? Second, carve out time. Not hours every day. Just consistent pockets of time every week where you work on your dream, not just in your job. Third, start small. Don't wait for the perfect business idea or full plan. Just start sharing, building, and testing. A $500 side hustle is better than no hustle. A few hundred followers who trust you can become your foundation. And over time, that foundation can grow into a fortress. It won't be easy. It will take time. You'll face doubt, failure, and setbacks. But you'll also experience something far more valuable than a paycheck: ownership. The ability to say, "This is mine, I built this, and it works for me." That's what Galloway teaches us. Wealth isn't about working more, it's about working smarter. It's about shifting from labor to leverage, from wages to equity, from renting your time to owning your future. So wherever you are right now, ask yourself, what can I build? What can I own? The answers don't need to be flashy. They just need to be yours. Because the people who build wealth don't just show up to collect a check. They show up to create something lasting. It's time to stop clocking in and start cashing in on your ideas, your skills, and your potential. You were meant to be more than just a worker. You were meant to be an owner. Let's keep going. Section 5. Education. Invest in yourself like you would Apple stock. If you're serious about building wealth, not just financial wealth, but wealth in confidence, opportunity, and personal power, then you need to make one investment more consistently than any other: yourself. That's not self-help fluff. That's straight economics. Education, as Scott Galloway boldly puts it in The Algebra of Wealth, is the only asset that no one can take from you, that compounds faster than money, and that can revolutionize your earning power over and over again. The world changes. Jobs vanish. Markets crash. But your skills, your knowledge, your ability to adapt, persuade, lead, and innovate, those are permanent. They're portable. They go where you go. And in today's hyper-competitive, hyper-distracted, AI-disrupted world, the people who rise to the top aren't always the smartest in the room. They're the ones who never stopped learning. Let's zoom in on the truth behind that. You can invest in Apple stock and maybe see a 10% return annually if you're lucky. But when you invest in learning, when you read voraciously, take online courses, study new tools, and sharpen your skills, your return isn't limited by market performance. It's exponential. It's career-altering. You could double your income, triple your opportunity set, pivot to a completely new field. You can become the kind of person that others pay attention to, follow, hire, and promote. All from investing time and energy into your brain. Scott Galloway is a perfect example. He didn't ride one career his whole life. He didn't get one degree and coast. He pivoted, repeatedly. From a UCLA grad with a mediocre GPA, to Wharton MBA, to brand strategist, to professor, to tech entrepreneur, to author and media personality, Galloway has reinvented himself multiple times. And how did he do it? By constantly upskilling, by staying curious, by reading obsessively, by investing in high-value knowledge long before it paid off. And that's the lesson. Your education doesn't end when school does. In fact, real education starts when you stop getting grades and start getting results. And if you treat education like a lifelong commitment, not a one-time phase, you become unstoppable. So what should you learn? Galloway highlights the importance of high ROI skills, the abilities that don't just make you smarter, but make you more valuable in the marketplace. Here are a few to focus on. Sales. If you can sell an idea, a product, yourself, you can create opportunities out of thin air. Every job interview, every investor pitch, every client meeting is sales. Learn how to do it well. Coding. You don't need to become a full-stack developer, but understanding how technology works gives you leverage in almost every industry today. It's a new kind of literacy. Storytelling. Whether it's giving a speech, posting on LinkedIn, or pitching a business, your ability to frame information in a compelling narrative is a superpower. Stories persuade where data doesn't. Negotiation. If you can negotiate effectively, you earn more, lose less, and create better outcomes in almost every area of life. Salary, contracts, partnerships, even relationships. These skills are not just useful, they're transformational. They multiply the value of everything else you do. And most importantly, they are learnable. You don't need a degree to master them. You just need dedication. So here's the practical game plan. Read widely. Learn strategically. Choose books that challenge your thinking. Take online courses from places like Coursera, LinkedIn Learning, or Masterclass. Watch YouTube tutorials. Listen to podcasts while you drive. Make curiosity a daily habit. The most successful people aren't born gifted. They're relentless students. And don't just learn passively. Apply what you learn. Teach it. Use it. Build something with it. Learning without doing is just trivia. But when you apply your new skills, you start building real-world leverage. You solve problems, you create value, and value is the foundation of wealth. There's another benefit to lifelong education that often gets overlooked. Confidence. When you know things, when you've learned, grown, and developed tools you can use, you stop doubting yourself so much. You stop waiting for permission. You start raising your hand, speaking up, starting projects, asking for raises, saying yes to opportunities. That internal transformation? That's the real ROI of education. It changes who you are, not just what you know. And look, let's be real. In today's economy, not learning is dangerous. The half-life of skills is shrinking. What worked 10 years ago won't work tomorrow. If you're not upskilling, you're downsizing your future. But if you're learning, even just a little, every day, you're future-proofing your life. So let me hit you with a simple challenge. What new skill can you commit to learning this month? Not in some vague, wishful way, but concretely. Choose a course. Buy the book. Set the schedule. Block off the time. Put it in your calendar. This isn't just self-improvement. It's wealth creation. Because education is not a cost. It's an asset. And don't underestimate the ripple effects. When you learn, you grow. When you grow, your circle expands. You attract better opportunities, better people, and better outcomes. You don't just change your bank account, you change your identity. So whether you're 19 or 59, beginner or expert, employed or in transition, it's time to double down on your mind. Study the things others avoid. Master the skills most people don't prioritize. Become dangerous in the best way. Dangerously well-informed, dangerously capable, and dangerously valuable. That's the essence of Galloway's formula. You want wealth? Start with education. Not just formal education, but intentional education. The kind that compounds over time, that builds your toolkit, and that unlocks doors you didn't even know existed. So here's your mission. Find a skill. Commit. Go deep. And remind yourself, every time it gets hard or boring, this is the one investment that guarantees returns. For life. Let's keep going. Section 6. Diversification. Don't bet the farm. You've probably heard the phrase, don't put all your eggs in one basket. But here's the thing most people miss. It's not just old-timey wisdom. It's a principle of survival. In the Algebra of Wealth, Scott Galloway makes it crystal clear. Diversification isn't just smart. It's essential. If you're serious about building lasting wealth, you can't afford to make just one bet. You need to spread your risks. Because while taking a leap can get you rich, diversification is what helps you stay rich. Let's break it down. What is diversification, really? It's the idea of spreading your assets, time, and income sources across different buckets so that no single event can wipe you out. In investing, that means not putting all your money into one stock, one company, or even one industry. In life, it means not relying on a single paycheck, a single skill, or a single stream of income. Diversification gives you resilience. It creates optionality. And in a world that's constantly shifting, economically, technologically, socially, that's a superpower. Why does this matter? Because life is unpredictable. You might have the best job in the world today, but what happens if your company gets acquired, downsized, or disrupted? You might be all in on a hot stock or crypto trend, but what happens if the market tanks tomorrow? If you've bet the farm on one thing, one company, one source of income, you're exposed. And one bad roll of the dice could undo years of progress. Take the dot-com crash of the early 2000s as a real-world example. Before the crash, investors and employees were pouring everything into internet startups. People were putting their life savings into companies that hadn't made a single dollar of profit. On paper, they were rich. But when the bubble burst, entire fortunes vanished overnight. People who had invested solely in tech stocks, or worse, in their own company's stock, were decimated. But those who had diversified, who had money in safer, broader assets like index funds, real estate, or bonds, survived. Some even thrived. They had safety nets. And that's what diversification gives you, the ability to weather the storm. So how do you apply this practically? Start with investing. Unless you're a seasoned financial analyst, avoid putting big chunks of money into individual stocks. Instead, lean into index funds, baskets of stocks that represent entire markets or sectors. Index funds are cheaper, more reliable, and far less risky than trying to beat the market yourself. They give you instant diversification across hundreds of companies, spreading out your risk and smoothing out the ride. But diversification isn't just about where you invest. It's also about how you earn. In the Algebra of Wealth, Galloway emphasizes the importance of building multiple income streams. Think about it. If your only source of income is your job, what happens if that job disappears? What if you get sick? What if your industry takes a hit? That's why you need to build other engines of income, things that don't rely on you clocking in every day. Maybe that's a rental property that brings in passive cash flow. Maybe it's a YouTube channel, a product, a book, or an online course that generates revenue while you sleep. Maybe it's a side hustle that starts small but grows into something powerful. The point is, you should never be 100% dependent on one thing. Build a diversified portfolio of skills and income sources that can carry you through the inevitable ups and downs. Scott Galloway himself lives this principle. He doesn't just teach at New York University or run a podcast. He's an author, a public speaker, a business owner, a board member, and an investor. He's diversified his brand, his income, and his impact. If one channel slows down, another keeps things moving. That's how you create stability in an unstable world. Here's another angle people don't always think about: diversifying your skills and identity. In the 21st century, your job title is a temporary label. Industries evolve, roles change, companies disappear. If all you are is your current job, you're vulnerable. But if you've built a skill set that spans industries, if you're adaptable, creative, and constantly learning, you'll never be obsolete. Ask yourself, what happens if AI replaces my role? What happens if my industry gets disrupted? What happens if the economy tanks? If your answer is, I'd be in trouble, then it's time to diversify. This brings us to a key challenge. Are you financially exposed in a way that one change could ruin you? Be honest. If your employer shut down tomorrow, how long could you last? If your one investment crashed, would you lose everything? If your biggest client left, would your business collapse? These are uncomfortable questions, but they're the right questions. And they point to a powerful truth. The goal isn't to avoid risk. It's to spread it wisely. And here's the good news. You don't have to overhaul your life overnight. Diversification is a strategy you build gradually. Start small. If you're only investing in your company's stock, start moving money into an index fund. If you're dependent on one client, start courting a second. If you've got a job but no side hustle, carve out a few hours a week to build something of your own. You don't need to panic. You just need to prepare. Diversification is about peace of mind. It's about knowing that if one pillar falls, the whole house doesn't come crashing down. It's not about being paranoid, it's about being smart. And it's not about spreading yourself thin. It's about building layers of resilience that give you the confidence to take bigger, bolder steps toward your goals. So what's next? Do a risk audit. Look at where your money is, where your income comes from, and how dependent you are on any one stream. Then ask, how can I diversify this? What's one new income stream I can begin? What's one skill I can build to expand my options? What's one investment I can shift to make my portfolio safer? Remember, wealth isn't just about making big bets, it's about protecting what you build. And in a world of uncertainty, the safest move isn't standing still, it's spreading your wings. Diversify not because you're scared of the future, but because you're committed to thriving in it. No matter what comes, let's keep going. Section 7. Math of Money. Understand the game you're playing. Wealth, at its core, isn't a mystery. It's not a lottery ticket, a secret society, or a twist of fate. It's math, pure and simple. Yet, in a world full of financial hype, lifestyle inflation, and credit card traps, most people are trying to win a game they don't even understand. In the Algebra of Wealth, Scott Galloway strips away the noise and lays it bare. If you want to be rich, you have to know the rules of the money game, and play them well. Let's start with the simplest formula of all. Earn more, spend less, and invest the difference. That's it. That's the algebra of wealth in its most basic form. Everything else, stocks, side hustles, crypto, financial independence, builds on this foundation. But here's the kicker. Most people ignore it. They either try to earn more without controlling spending, or they save a little but don't invest, or they invest blindly without tracking what they actually earn or own. That's like trying to win at chess without knowing how the pieces move. So, let's take this one piece at a time. First, earn more. Whether it's through your job, your business, or your side hustle, your income is your financial fuel. And the truth is, the higher your income, the easier wealth becomes. It's not about obsessing over coffee habits. We'll get to that in a minute. It's about increasing your earning potential. That means negotiating your salary, building high-value skills, pursuing promotions, or starting something on the side that generates additional cash. You can't budget your way to freedom on a starvation salary. You've got to grow your top line. But earning more isn't enough if your lifestyle grows with it. That's where the second piece of the formula kicks in. Spend less. This doesn't mean living like a monk. It means living below your means, intentionally. It means understanding where your money goes, choosing value over vanity, and avoiding the trap of lifestyle inflation. Because the more money you can free up from your paycheck, the more you can invest. And that's where the magic happens. Which brings us to the final piece. Invest the difference. This is the game changer. When you invest wisely, consistently, and with patience, you unlock the most powerful force in wealth creation: compound interest. Albert Einstein reportedly called it the eighth wonder of the world. Why? Because it doesn't just grow your money, it multiplies it. And over time, it does so at an accelerating rate. Here's how it works. Say you invest $10,000 at a 7% annual return. In 1 year, you've got $10,700. In 2 years, $11,449. But fast forward 30 years, that initial $10,000 turns into over $76,000. And if you keep adding $500 a month, you're sitting on more than $500,000. That's not magic. That's math. But compounding only works if you give it time and consistency. Which means you can't keep pulling your money out. You can't panic sell when the market dips. And you definitely can't waste all your gains on status purchases that don't grow in value. The wealthy understand this. They let their money work for them, quietly, steadily, over decades. Now, let's talk about where most people go wrong. They don't track the numbers. They don't know their net worth. They don't follow a budget. They couldn't tell you how much they spent last month, let alone how much they invested. And when you don't track your money, you're flying blind. You can't fix what you don't measure. Scott Galloway doesn't mince words here. He urges people to think like chief financial officers of their own lives. That means creating a monthly budget, tracking your income and expenses, calculating your net worth regularly, using tools like Mint, YNAB, or a simple spreadsheet. The point is to know where your money is, what it's doing, and how you can make it work harder. Let's look at a real-world example that hits close to home: the infamous Starbucks habit. Now, we're not here to guilt you for buying coffee. But let's look at the math. Suppose you spend $5 a day on lattes. That's $150 a month, $1,800 a year. Over 30 years, if that money had been invested at 7% annual returns, it would grow to over $180,000. That's not just caffeine, it's a down payment on a house, a retirement booster, or the seed fund for a new business. Again, It's not about the coffee. It's about opportunity cost, the unseen price of every dollar you spend today instead of investing it for tomorrow. Understanding opportunity cost changes how you see everything. That new car, it's not just a $500 monthly payment, it's potentially a $500,000 reduction in future wealth. That $1,000 impulse buy, it could have been $10,000 by retirement. Once you start seeing money as time and freedom, not just stuff, your entire relationship with it shifts. And that's the deeper lesson here. Money is not just a tool, it's a game. And the game has rules. If you learn them, you can play to win. If you ignore them, you'll always feel behind, no matter how much you earn. Galloway's message is simple but sobering. Most people lose not because they're lazy, but because they never learned the rules. They were never taught how credit card interest works, never shown how compound growth changes everything, never trained to think about money strategically. So here's your challenge. Do you know where your money is going every month? If the answer is no, it's time to change that. Today, set aside 30 minutes. List your income. Track your expenses. Start a simple net worth sheet. Automate your savings and investments. Make finance a weekly ritual, not a once-a-year panic attack. And most importantly, respect the math. Don't underestimate small amounts. Don't delay investing until you make more. Don't assume things will just work out. Wealth doesn't happen by accident. It happens by intention, backed by numbers, executed consistently. You don't have to be a financial genius, but you do have to pay attention. Because the truth is, wealth is available to more people than ever before, but only to those who understand how to play. So stop guessing, stop hoping, start calculating. Know your numbers, use them like a weapon, and build the kind of financial life that gives you not just security, but sovereignty. Let's keep going. Section 8. Resilience. Build a life that can withstand storms. Let's get brutally honest for a moment. Life doesn't care about your plans. The economy doesn't ask for your permission before crashing. Illness doesn't wait for your vacation to end. Companies don't consult you before they lay you off. The storms are coming. Not if, but when. And when they do, the question becomes simple. Will you break or will you bend? That's the power of resilience. And in the Algebra of Wealth, Scott Galloway makes it clear. It's not just about how smart you are with money. It's about how strong your financial house is when the winds howl. The people who build true wealth aren't just good at growing their income or picking the right stocks. They're good at not losing it all when things fall apart. That's resilience. That's the art of preparing for the worst, so it doesn't ruin you when it inevitably arrives. Because let's face it, no one goes through life unscathed. The question is whether you'll be caught off guard or cushioned by your own foresight. So, how do you build that cushion? It starts with the most unsexy but absolutely essential step in all of personal finance, the emergency fund. This is your first line of defense. Galloway recommends, and most financial advisors agree, that you should have 6 to 12 months of living expenses set aside in a liquid, easily accessible account. That's not investing. That's insurance. That's your sleep well at night fund. It's what allows you to walk away from a toxic job, take a breath during a medical crisis, or simply avoid spiraling into debt when the car breaks down or the economy dips. Think about this. If your income stopped tomorrow, how long could you survive without making desperate decisions? If the answer is a week or maybe a month, then you're not building wealth. You're surviving on a tightrope. Resilience means building a net underneath that rope, one that catches you before you fall too far. Now, The second pillar of resilience is something we often ignore until it's too late. Insurance. Health insurance. Life insurance. Disability insurance. Yes, it's boring. Yes, it's paperwork. But it's also the difference between financial survival and catastrophe. A single unexpected medical event can wipe out a decade of savings. A sudden death or disability can derail an entire family's financial future. That's why Galloway emphasizes protecting what you can't afford to lose. Not everything needs to be insured, but the big, rare, financially devastating stuff, that needs a safety net. Let's make it real with a story. Think back to the 2008 financial crisis. Millions of people lost their jobs, their homes, and their retirement savings. It was brutal. But some people weathered it better than others. Why? Because they had built resilience before the storm hit. They had cash reserves. They had diversified their income streams. They had insurance. They weren't over-leveraged. They didn't own 5 properties with zero equity. In short, they had built a life that could bend without breaking. That's the playbook for resilience. Contrast that with the people who were living paycheck to paycheck, with massive debt and no safety net. When the layoffs came, they were out of options and out of time. That's the harsh reality of not preparing. Financial resilience doesn't just protect you from hardship. It gives you freedom in times of chaos. It gives you choices. You don't have to take the first crappy job that comes your way. You don't have to sell your investments at a loss. You don't have to borrow money from relatives or rack up credit card debt. You breathe, regroup, and come back stronger. But here's the deeper layer. Resilience isn't just about money. It's about mindset. It's about knowing that even when things go wrong, and they will, you've set yourself up to absorb the blow. It's about removing anxiety from your financial life so you can think clearly and act deliberately. And, ironically, that calmness is what allows you to take better risks and make smarter moves in the long term. So, how do you build it, practically? 1. Start with your emergency fund. If you don't have one, make it your top priority. Cut back, save aggressively. Automate deposits into a high-yield savings account until you've got at least 3 months saved. Then aim for 6, then 12. 2. Audit your insurance. Do you have health insurance? Life insurance if others depend on your income? Long-term disability insurance? If not, don't wait until you need it. Protect yourself now. 3. Eliminate toxic debt. Resilience means not being crushed by obligations when income dries up. Pay off high-interest debt so that your monthly nut is lower and your flexibility is higher. 4. Diversify income if possible. Can you freelance, rent out a room, build a side hustle? The more streams of income you have, the more anti-fragile you become. 5. Build emotional resilience too. When crisis hits, your ability to remain calm and think clearly is as important as your bank balance. Practice stoicism, meditate, journal, prepare mentally as well as financially. Let's be real, you don't have to do all of this in 1 week. Resilience is built brick by brick, but every brick counts. Every dollar saved, every insurance policy put in place, every debt paid off. It all adds up to a fortress that protects your future self from the chaos of the world. So here's the challenge. If your income stopped tomorrow, how long could you survive? That's not a hypothetical question. It's a wake-up call. If your answer makes you nervous, good. That's your cue to act. Because financial brilliance is overrated if your whole plan collapses the moment something goes wrong. Resilience? That's real wealth. That's peace of mind. That's the difference between constantly reacting to life and confidently navigating it. Scott Galloway's genius isn't in revealing some hidden formula. It's in reminding us of the obvious truths we tend to avoid. Resilience isn't sexy, it's not flashy, but it is essential. It's what turns a shaky paycheck-to-paycheck life into one of control, calm, and quiet confidence. So don't wait for the next crisis to teach you a lesson. Build your buffer now. Set your foundations today. Because in the game of wealth, it's not the smartest who win, it's the strongest. And strength comes from preparing before you need it. Let's move on. Section 9. Hustle. Hard work still matters. In the era of overnight success stories, viral TikToks, and stories of effortless wealth, it's tempting to believe that hustle, the relentless grind and consistent effort, is old-fashioned. But Scott Galloway pulls no punches in the Algebra of Wealth. There is no passive path to wealth without years of active effort. Hustle remains the backbone of financial success. Talent might get you noticed, but hustle is what gets you rich. Here's the brutal truth. If you want to build real, lasting wealth, you have to work harder and smarter than most people are willing to. That means embracing the grind. It means showing up when others don't. It means pushing through discomfort, boredom, and rejection because you know the payoff is worth it. Hustle isn't just about working hard for the sake of it. It's about purposeful, strategic effort directed toward your biggest goals. Why does hustle matter so much? Because talent alone isn't enough. We've all seen gifted people with potential who never hit their stride because they lacked discipline and tenacity. Conversely, people who might not be the most naturally gifted often out-earn and outperform because they put in the hours, learn continuously, and don't quit when things get tough. Hustle creates opportunities, opens doors, and builds momentum that talent alone can't sustain. Scott Galloway's own journey is a testament to the power of hustle. Early in his career, he was balancing a brutal teaching schedule while launching startups on the side. He worked late nights, weekends, and holidays, not because it was easy, but because he understood that those years of sacrifice were investments in his future freedom. His $50 million exit from L2, a digital intelligence company, wasn't handed to him on a silver platter. It was earned through years of grinding, failing, learning, and doubling down. Here's the key insight. Work hard now so you can work less later. The idea is simple. Put in 60-hour weeks in your early years when you have the energy and time to build skills, networks, and assets. That doesn't mean you neglect your health or relationships, but it does mean recognizing that hustle is a phase of life with a purpose. The payoff is later, a life where you can choose how to spend your time because your efforts have created multiple income streams, financial stability, or a scalable business. But hustle isn't just about clocking hours. It's about doing what others won't. It's the extra calls, the additional learning, the willingness to take on projects no one else wants. It's the grit to keep pushing when rejection piles up, when motivation fades, or when you feel invisible. Hustle is that invisible difference between good enough and exceptional. It's what separates those who dream from those who do. In practical terms, here's how you can apply hustle today. Double down on your current job or business. Work the extra hours to learn the ropes deeply, contribute meaningfully, and build a reputation as someone who gets things done. Your hustle will be noticed. Promotions, raises, and opportunities follow effort. Build side projects that complement your goals. Whether it's freelancing, launching a YouTube channel, or starting a small online store, hustling outside your main job grows skills and diversifies income. Commit to lifelong learning. Hustle includes constantly upskilling, reading, courses, networking, and finding mentors. The best hustlers are also the best learners. Be strategic about your hustle. Work hard and smart. Focus your energy on high-leverage activities that push your goals forward. But here's the catch. Hustle isn't glamorous. It's messy, exhausting, and often thankless. It can feel lonely when friends are out socializing or relaxing. It demands sacrifice, discipline, and resilience. But every hour you invest in hustle is a down payment on the life you want to create. Scott's example shows us that hustle is a marathon, not a sprint. Early in his career, teaching classes until late, building startups in his spare time, enduring setbacks, that relentless effort laid the foundation for his eventual success. But he didn't just hustle blindly. He combined hard work with clear goals, self-awareness, and strategic thinking. Hustle without direction is burnout waiting to happen. Now, it's your turn to reflect. Are you working like someone who's serious about changing their life? Are you putting in the hours needed to build the future you envision? Are you willing to do the things others won't today, so you can live differently tomorrow? If the answer is no, it's time to rethink your approach. Hustle isn't about reckless exhaustion. It's about focused, deliberate action. It's about treating your time like the precious resource it is and investing it in what will pay off big dividends in the future. Remember, hustle isn't a permanent state. It's a phase of intensity. It's the burning fuel that lights the fire of your financial engine. When you commit to it with purpose and passion, you start to see opportunities multiply, skills sharpen, and confidence build. You become unstoppable. So go ahead. Lean into the grind. Show up when others sleep. Learn when others distract themselves. Work when others quit. Because wealth isn't handed out to the lucky or the talented alone. It's earned by those who hustle relentlessly. Let's keep moving forward. Section 10. Love and Purpose. Wealth without meaning is worthless. Imagine this. You've climbed the ladder, amassed a fortune, and your bank account is overflowing. Yet, when you look around, you find yourself alone in a massive house, disconnected from those you care about, and stuck in a job that drains your soul. What's the point? This is the haunting question Scott Galloway raises in the Algebra of Wealth. Wealth without meaning is worthless. Money alone cannot buy happiness, fulfillment, or a life worth living. True wealth is a balance between financial success, love, and purpose. This is a vital, often overlooked part of the wealth equation. Society pushes us to chase more. More money, more stuff, more status. But what good is all that if you don't have anyone to share it with, or if your work feels meaningless? Galloway's core message here is crystal clear. Wealth isn't just about accumulating assets. It's about living a life aligned with your values and relationships. Without this, wealth becomes an empty trophy. Why does this matter so deeply? Because many people who make it financially find themselves exhausted, isolated, and unfulfilled. The hustle, the grind, the sacrifices, they all ring hollow if they cost you time with your family, your health, or your peace of mind. True success must include the richness of connection and a clear sense of purpose. It's the reason why so many ultra-wealthy people still struggle with loneliness or burnout. Money can buy comfort, but it can't fill the emotional and spiritual void if you ignore love and meaning. Scott Galloway shares a powerful personal insight on this front. Early in his career, he admits to missing out on precious moments with his children. He was consumed by work, chasing success, thinking the money and accolades would justify the sacrifices. But in the quiet moments of reflection, he realized the true cost. No amount of wealth could replace those lost dinners, school plays, or simple hugs. That realization sparked a shift in how he approached life. He started scheduling time with his family like it was a business meeting, guarding those moments fiercely. He aligned his work with his values, ensuring that what he pursued professionally wasn't just profitable but meaningful. So, how do you apply this lesson in your own life? First, treat your relationships like the critical assets they are. Just as you would schedule meetings, deadlines, or workouts, schedule time for your loved ones. Block it on your calendar. Make it non-negotiable. Whether it's date nights, family dinners, or weekend trips, these moments are investments in your emotional wealth that pay dividends for a lifetime. The richness of these connections can't be overstated. They provide resilience during tough times and joy in the good ones. Second, find purpose in your work. This doesn't mean you need to quit your job to chase a passion project immediately, but you should reflect on whether your current work aligns with your core values. Ask yourself, does what I do create value that I believe in? Does it contribute to something bigger than myself? When work feels meaningful, it energizes rather than drains you. It gives you a reason to get up in the morning beyond just a paycheck. And third, balance is key. Life isn't about all work and no play, nor is it about endless leisure without ambition. Purpose and love anchor the wealth-building journey and remind you why you hustle in the first place. This holistic approach is what creates a life worth living. Let's think about a real-world example beyond Scott's personal story. Consider Warren Buffett, the legendary investor who is famously frugal, yet known for his deep devotion to family and his love of simple pleasures. Despite his vast wealth, Buffett prioritizes meaningful relationships and finds purpose in giving back through philanthropy. His life exemplifies the idea that money is a tool, not the destination. Now, here's the challenge for you to reflect on. What does rich actually mean to you? Is it a number in your bank account? Is it the freedom to travel? Is it a life filled with laughter, connection, and meaning? The clearer you get on your personal definition of richness, the better you can align your efforts to build that kind of wealth. Because at the end of the day, a full bank account with an empty life is the greatest failure of all. The algebra of wealth isn't just about money. It's about designing a life where financial freedom supports a life full of love and purpose. So take a moment, breathe, and ask yourself, are you chasing the right kind of wealth? Are you investing enough in the things that truly matter? When you answer these questions honestly, you'll find the true formula for wealth isn't just addition and multiplication of dollars. It's the integration of passion, relationships, and financial wisdom. That's where fulfillment lives. That's where legacy begins. So remember, wealth without meaning is just noise. Find your purpose. Guard your relationships. Build a life you're proud to live. Because in the end, that's the richest story you can tell. Section 11. Conclusion. Your wealth equation starts now. As we reach the end of this journey through the algebra of wealth, it's time to bring it all together. You've absorbed powerful ideas about money, mindset, and meaning, each a crucial piece of the puzzle that forms your unique wealth equation. But knowledge alone isn't enough. The magic happens when you take that knowledge, mix it with intention and action, and start building the life you want. Let's recap the core principles that Scott Galloway lays out, each one a stepping stone toward your financial freedom and fulfillment. First, focus. Wealth is not about chasing every opportunity or spreading yourself thin. It's about the discipline to say no, no to distractions, no to good but not great opportunities, so you can say yes to what truly matters. Focus gives you the power to grow exponentially because energy concentrated on one goal creates momentum that scattered efforts never will. Next, stoicism. In a world full of volatility, market crashes, career setbacks, personal challenges, your ability to master your emotions is priceless. Stoicism isn't about suppressing feelings, it's about responding thoughtfully, keeping your cool, and turning failures into fuel. Emotional discipline means you won't be knocked off course by every storm. You'll navigate them with resilience and clarity. Then, time. Time is your ultimate compounding asset. Starting early and thinking long-term means your money and your efforts multiply in ways you might not see today, but will be extraordinary decades from now. Wealth isn't about how much you make in the moment. It's about what you build over years. Invest your time wisely, because once it's gone, you can never get it back. Ownership is next. Don't just work for a paycheck. Build equity, whether through a business, investments, or intellectual property that works for you around the clock. Assets grow, scale, and create opportunities long after your workday ends. True wealth comes from owning something meaningful, not just trading time for money. Education is your lifelong ROI machine. The smartest investors aren't just watching stocks, they're learning constantly. High ROI skills like sales, storytelling, coding, and negotiation compound faster than money. The more you learn, the more valuable you become, and the more doors open to you. Diversification is your financial safety net. Putting all your eggs in one basket is a gamble few can afford. Spread your risk across investments, income streams, and skills. This protects you when life inevitably throws curveballs and keeps your wealth growing steadily, not spiraling into chaos. The math of money is your game plan. Know your numbers, budget, track your net worth, understand interest and opportunity costs. You can't win a game you don't understand. The small daily choices, coffee or saving, impulse buy or investing, multiply into life-changing outcomes. Resilience beats brilliance every time. It's not about being the smartest or luckiest. It's about being prepared. Build your emergency fund, get insurance, and create a life that can withstand layoffs, health scares, and recessions. When trouble comes, and it will, your resilience will protect your progress. Hustle remains a timeless truth. Hard work still matters. There are no shortcuts around the grind. Hustle means putting in the hours now so you can enjoy freedom later. It's showing up when others don't, learning what others won't, and doing what others can't. Hustle fuels your journey when passion alone isn't enough. Finally, and most importantly, purpose and love. Wealth without meaning is hollow. Schedule time with those you care about like you schedule meetings. Align your work with your values so it energizes you. Remember, love and purpose are the ultimate returns on investment. They fill your life with richness that money alone can't buy. Here's the emotional truth I want you to hear loud and clear. You are not stuck. You are not behind. You are just one decision away from starting your wealth journey. Every giant leap begins with a small step. Every story of success started with someone deciding to try. Your past does not dictate your future. The only limits are the ones you accept. Right now, you have the tools. You have the roadmap. What you do next defines your future. The Algebra of Wealth isn't just a theory, it's a call to action. Build your focus. Master your emotions. Respect the power of time. Own your assets. Learn relentlessly. Diversify your risks. Understand your money. Prepare for storms. Hustle hard. Love deeply. Find purpose. This is your equation for wealth and life. It's waiting for you to start solving. If this video lit a fire in you, I want you to do 3 things. Hit that like button to let me know you're ready to take control of your financial future? Drop your favorite insight or the biggest takeaway in the comments below. I love hearing what moves you most, and share this video with someone you care about, because real wealth grows when knowledge is shared. Finally, if you want more life-changing book breakdowns that fuel your ambition and sharpen your mindset, subscribe and join the movement. Together, we're not just chasing wealth, we're building legacies. Your journey begins now. Take that first step. The future you want is within reach. Let's go build it.